your competitor can basically type the same prompt and get the same answer. You don't really have a strategy. You have a search result.
Unprompted by Rival is a podcast for marketing leaders who figured out that the demo isn't the product, the deck isn't the deployment, the headlines on LinkedIn are not the reality. So if you think AI is a sprint, this is not for you. But if you think it's a marathon, then pull up a chair. Hey everyone, today's episode is another internal conversation with our brilliant Chief Product Officer, Kostas Vidoris. He's been on board for, I think, about 8 months now. We managed to pry him away from WPP, where he was leading all retail solutions for WPP across the agencies with a team of 30 people underneath him. And he's got 15 plus years experience working in advertising agencies, Essence Mediacom, Choreograph, cross media, creative, and technology, building AI-driven solutions for agencies and clients such as Apple, Google, NBC Universal, and L'Oreal. So Kostas is at the heart of everything that Rival is doing with tech and AI. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation, get a little peek under the hood of how we think about AI here at Rival from the man himself. Please enjoy. We're going to get straight into it. So as of course you know, our take on this show is that AI in marketing right now looks a lot like the internet in 1999. Everybody's racing to build pets.com instead of Amazon. Tell me where we are right and where we're full of shit.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Pets.com. We are there. I think everyone is kind of building chatbots that no one really wants to use, content farms. Everyone is kind of stamping AI powered on everything. So this is a true reality. Wrong, I would say, kind of like in 1999, the analogy breaks a bit at least, because the internet had to build itself first. But AI kind of slotted into a ready world. Infrastructure, data, distribution already exists. And this won't take a decade. I feel also the Amazon of the AI marketing world probably isn't like a marketing company, is OpenAI, Anthropic, Google. So yeah, I think the real problem is that we kind of moved into a world in a different planet and people are still kind of packing for the old one. We're using smartphones for the torch only. And we're just trying to think about how we save 20% of the process, where the real question is, what can I do now that I wasn't able to do before?
Yep. And obviously that's the question that we're asking, ourselves every day. What can the next generation of the agency model do now that wasn't possible even a year ago? And I think it's interesting your push on kind of where the analogy breaks. We do say, it's like the internet in 1999, but it's going to be so much bigger and so much faster. So there is something where the tech built on the tech that came before it is going to enable progress and change and disruption so much faster than what happened with the internet wave. But if we zoom out and talk about what did you believe about AI and marketing a year ago that you now think is wrong, where would you go with that?
So many things. I thought that the big holdcos would lead because they had everything on the paper wrong. Like, I think the real movement is kind of contextual builders, small teams who kind of deeply understand the specific problem and kind of have the motivation to solve it. I was also wrong that you couldn't really build anything assisted by AI. I remember a year ago, everyone was kind of making fun of the vibe coders, this kind of aged like milk. Now, if you're not really being assisted by AI, it seems like you're going on a knife fight with your hands tied. But yeah, the big, I think, realization is that scale and resources have almost become anti-advantages. The headcount, established process. It's almost like they're actively working against the people who have them.
Yeah, it's so true. It's the classic kind of speedboat oil tanker thing, but it just gets compounded with what the technology can do. And I always think about that because I think there's also, the reality of being a big publicly traded company and all that stuff, but also to the whole premise of the show. So many of them are competing about the headlines, not the reality. And of course their business model is sustained by something completely different. And businesses like I always say, I am excited, not scared at all about all the changes that are coming because of the type of business that we're in and because of the people that we have, including you. But man, if I was in a big holding company, I would definitely be more scared than excited. All right. So everyone asks what marketers should be using AI for. Let's flip that. What are marketers using AI for right now that they should stop using it for immediately?
I like this flip on the question. I would say marketers should kind of stop using AI for strategy. I've seen a lot of people, they're just dumping their business problem into ChatGPT, which really what they're getting is a kind of synthesis of every average answer on the internet. Your competitor can basically type the same prompt and get the same answer. You don't really have a strategy. You have a search result. I would say, though, this can flip when you use your proprietary data, when you have a sharp prompt, but I think that's rare. Most of what I see is kind of laundered groupthink. I would also stop kind of producing a lot of AI content. I think it just trains the audience to tune brands out. It trains marketers to kind of confuse output with outcome. So I think for me, volume is not really a strategy, it's the absence of one.
Of that. That's a very clippable moment. And in the first AI Marketers Anonymous meetup that we had a few weeks ago, that was a big part of the conversation. We called it the AI smell test, just how quickly we're adapting to recognizing generated content, even if it's not a rational thing. Like, we can feel it, we can smell it, and then maybe you break down, or you don't even know why but you can just kind of tell.
Amazing.
And one very tactical thing for me, and I just did it this morning, I do obviously use AI. I was prepping for a Scratch interview that we're going to do. We had the prep call yesterday and I needed to write the brief. Took the meeting notes, took my notes from the call, asked it to do some research on the business and the brand, and it wrote a brief for me. I then wrote the brief from scratch myself. So, one of our principles is it's input, not output. And I think what a lot of people are doing are like copying what it gives you and then making some tweaks. But at least for me, it is you read it and then you go write it on your own. And the other thing I was going to say, and obviously where we're making a big investment to your first point of how to flip it is, in the AI marketing marathon report, we talk about this 3-layer model. The tech is just the middle layer, and arguably the one that becomes more commoditized and less important over time. It's the humans, the top layer, but then also the data, the foundational layer that creates the big differentiator. So you built a RAG model that taps into all of the research that we've done on challenger brands, so that Rival Intelligence, whenever anybody engages with the agent of Rival Intelligence, it's actually filtering through differentiated data to give it a result. So fundamentally, that's a huge thing that people should be focusing on a lot more. So next question, between the platforms hyping capability, the consultancy selling transformation, and AI demos that don't survive contact with reality, what's the biggest piece of bullshit CMOs are being sold right now?
All of those things that you said, but I think the biggest is the idea of there is an AI strategy separate from your business strategy. Kind of the consulting complex, it's on top of this lie. Companies get like a 12 to 18 month AI transformations. They have proprietary methodology, maturity model, steering committee, and the deliverable is just a deck that justifies what the CMO was already doing with an AI stamped on every box. So
could not agree with that more. And, it's how a lot of the industry is operating right now. But again, using the analogy of the internet, these cycles, it's always the same. When something is new, you create silos around it and you hire experts to help you solve it. And over time, it just becomes how you do things. There were internet agencies, and there still are digital and unfortunately still social agencies, but it should just be how you do things. So it starts as a vertical silo and ends up being horizontally integrated. And the horizontally integrated approach, what's the business strategy built around AI, as opposed to what's my AI strategy, is 100%, the marathon. Whereas so many people are selling the sprint because that's where they can make money.
I think people should stop buying frameworks and empower maybe contextual builders inside the orgs and treat AI literacy as a baseline skill like it was for the digital literacy 10 years ago. Yeah.
100%. All right, Kostas, you're the CMO of a Fortune 500 brand. You can only choose one thing to invest in over the next 5 years: data, tech, or taste, like human talent. Which of those do you choose and why?
Taste, easy. I think for me, taste is kind of disciplined judgment to know what works and what doesn't, at best informed by analysis. So understanding what hooks land, what structures convert across kind of thousands of executions. Taste, judgment that is earned, not via or felt. And yeah, is the layer that kind of decides whether all of your data and tech produces anything good. I'm not saying that data and tech is not crucial. You inevitably know that those things would grow and become better, but nobody's selling you taste right now.
There you go. The chief product officer, the engineer, choosing taste over data and tech. All right. The next question I'm very curious to get your answer on. So, what is one prediction for AI in marketing in 2030 that you'd put $30,000 of your own money into right now?
I would short, but maybe I'll go long on judgment and then short on translation. And by judgment, I would bet on companies or teams, small teams, 1 to 3 people that kind of specialize in something and they have the motivation to kind of build something that is unique.
And the thing is, like, they are still surfing the wave of selling the silo and slapping AI on everything and putting the headlines out there. So when that falls away and people realize that the sprint is not the race that we're running and it is a marathon, it's going to be interesting. I think that's probably a good investment. All right, Kostas, our last question. So a CMO listening to this does nothing for the next year except follow one piece of your advice. What would it be?
Do the work yourself. Do not outsource this. 1 hour a day, find a problem that is important to you. Try using the tools, not demos, not reports, not listening to kind of pitches of solutions, real problems, real data. An hour a day for a year out educates any consultancy engagement, I feel, because the CMO would also have so much context of the business that a third party wouldn't even come close.
Got to learn how it works. Got to get your hands dirty, do the hard yards. And the thing that I would add to that is also find yourself a partner that can kind of be your informal coach going through it, which, Kostas, you are to me. So I am doing the work on my own. I've got my curriculum that I'm working through. I don't always get to an hour a day, but I chip away. I do what I can. All right, Kostas, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too.